Chosen one. This moment is not random, and you are not listening by accident. You have been guided here because your prophetic scroll is being unsealed in perfect Kairos timing, and heaven has marked this exact hour for your awakening. What you feel stirring in your spirit right now is not emotion, it is recognition. Something written about you before you were born is beginning to open, and the appointed moment on heaven's clock has arrived. Chosen one, you are standing at the edge of a destined turning point. A sealed prophecy is unlocking, and what was delayed, hidden, or misunderstood is now moving into revelation. This is not a season of waiting without purpose. This is the hour where alignment replaces delay, where silence gives way to divine instruction, and where preparation begins to reveal its fruit. As it is written in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, there is a time for every purpose under heaven, and this moment carries your name. Anointed one. The shift you are sensing is real. Heaven is accelerating what was once slow, and the vision that lingered will now speak, just as Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 declares. Expect transformation not later, but now. Expect clarity, strength and movement to begin unfolding today, tonight, or in the coming days. Prepare your heart, because what God is revealing will shape who you are becoming in ways even you may not yet recognize. Chosen one. Before we go any further, I need you to slow your breathing for just a moment and let your spirit catch up to this moment. There are things about you that you have judged too quickly, moments you labeled as weakness seasons you thought disqualified you. You measured yourself by mistakes, by limits, by fragile moments when you felt exposed and unsure. You let the opinions of others become mirrors, and over time you started believing that reflection was the full truth. But it was never the full picture. It was only an unfinished sketch, and heaven has always held the completed portrait. Chosen one. There are layers within you this world has never touched. There are callings that pain tried to bury, and talents that silence tried to suffocate, yet they are still alive. I know this because I have lived through seasons where everything looked dormant on the outside, while something sacred was quietly forming within. There were days when nothing seemed to move, when prayers felt unanswered and effort looked wasted. But later I realized those were not empty days. They were hidden days, and hidden days are where heaven does its deepest work. Anointed one. What you see right now is only the seed. Heaven already sees the harvest. What felt like delay was actually design. What felt like being overlooked was actually being set apart. Think about how many times you were pushed to the edges, not invited into rooms you thought you belonged in, or dismissed when you knew there was more inside you. That was not rejection. That was protection. Heaven was shielding what was not yet ready to be revealed. Chosen one, the silence you walked through was not absence. It was instruction without noise. I remember seasons where nothing dramatic happened, no visible progress, no applause, just obedience and endurance. At the time, it felt like nothing. Looking back, it was everything. Those quiet stretches trained discernment, humility, and spiritual stamina. And the same is true for you. You were being trained for weight, not for attention. There is a blueprint already placed inside you, not a small one, not a fragile one. A blueprint meant to carry influence, testimony, and impact far beyond what you imagined when you were just trying to survive. This is why your tears were never wasted. Every breakdown you endured became ground for breakthrough. If you have ever looked back and wondered how you survived certain moments, that survival itself is proof that heaven was carrying you when you could not carry yourself. Chosen one, hear this clearly. The transformation ahead is not cosmetic. It is not about polishing the old version of you or becoming slightly improved. This is about emergence. This is about stepping into a self that feels unfamiliar because it is aligned with heaven rather than fear. I remember the moment I realized I no longer reacted the way I used to. The same pressure showed up, but I stood differently. That is how you will know the change has begun. Not by noise, but by posture. The one who once trembled will speak with clarity. The one who questioned every step will move with quiet authority. Shame will no longer cling to your identity. It will fall off naturally as truth takes its place. This is what new creation feels like. Not sudden perfection, but deep alignment. Scripture says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 17 that the old passes away and the new comes. That is not a metaphor, it is a spiritual law. Chosen one, your scars will stop reminding you of defeat and start declaring victory, not because the past changes, but because your position does. Heaven has never doubted you even in seasons when you doubted yourself. Before you were formed, you were known. Before you ever took a step, your name was written into destiny. That is why storms could not drown you and opposition could not erase you. You were preserved by prophecy, not by chance. The season that felt like delay was divine timing doing its work beneath the surface. What feels like breaking right now is not the end. It is redesign. Just like clay must be pressed and gold must pass through fire, you are being shaped into something unshakable. And as this truth settles in your spirit, something is already shifting quietly, deliberately, irreversibly. Chosen one. There are seasons when obedience feels heavier than rebellion, and faith feels quieter than doubt. Yet those are the very seasons where heaven leans closest. You may feel pressed, hidden, or delayed, but what feels like abandonment is actually refinement. I have learned that God often does his deepest work when there is nothing left to lean on except him. When everything external grows silent, something internal becomes sharp. That sharpness is discernment, and it is being formed in you right now. There are moments when you pray fast and do everything you know to do, yet the ground beneath your feet feels unmoved. I know how unsettling that silence can be. It makes you question whether you heard God correctly in the first place. But silence does not mean absence. It means construction without distraction. Heaven is building in you what applause could never build and what shortcuts could never sustain. What looks like stillness is actually alignment happening below the surface. Chosen one, you are in what I call a cocoon season. It feels tight, limiting, and uncomfortable, not because something is wrong, but because something is changing. God hides what he intends to reveal, and he pulls you away from noise when what he is forming is too sacred to rush. I remember seasons when isolation felt like punishment, only to later realize it was protection. It kept me from speaking too soon, moving too fast, and exposing something not yet ready. Think about how many times your life slowed down when you wanted acceleration. That slowing was not resistance, it was timing. Scripture reminds us in Galatians chapter 6 verse 9, not to grow weary in doing good, because in due season there is a harvest. Due season is not a suggestion, it is an appointment, and you cannot arrive early or late to what heaven has scheduled. You are not being chosen. The nights you thought you were forgotten were watering the soil of destiny. Every tear, every quiet endurance, every unseen act of obedience was recorded. There is a strength forming in you now that could not have been built in comfort. It is the kind of strength that knows how to stand when explanations are missing. When God says now, nothing will be able to hold you down. What once crushed you will no longer confine you. I have seen this shift happen quietly, almost unnoticed at first. One day you realize the same pressure no longer controls you. The same voices no longer shape your decisions. That is how wings form, not in open skies, but in tight spaces. Chosen one. When the unveiling comes, even you may not recognize yourself. The timid voice will carry authority not because you practiced confidence, but because truth settled deep. The wounded heart will overflow with healing, not because the past disappeared, but because it no longer defines you. Those who wait on the Lord renew strength, as Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31 reminds us, and that renewal often begins long before the flight. God is enlarging you in ways you cannot yet measure. Wisdom is being stretched, influence is being prepared, and doors are aligning that will open with ease when the moment arrives. I have learned that divine connections rarely announce themselves loudly. They appear naturally when alignment is complete. You will look back one day and realize how precisely everything was timed. Chosen. One, you are becoming someone shaped by heaven, not by fear, not by failure, not by delay. This transformation is not accidental. It is intentional, personal, and sacred. And even now, as you listen, the process continues steady, unseen, and unstoppable. Trust this process, even when emotions resist it. I know the urge to rush clarity and demand visible proof, but faith matures in patience. Heaven is not hurried, and neither is destiny. What is forming in you will last because it was not forced. Stay surrendered, stay listening, and stay faithful in small steps because alignment compounds quietly. You are closer than you think, even now. This moment matters more than you realize, and heaven is fully attentive. Chosen one. There comes a point in the journey where the old language no longer explains what is happening inside you. You try to describe it, but words feel small compared to the internal shift taking place. You are not who you were yet. You have not fully stepped into who you are becoming, and that in-between space can feel unsettling. I have stood there myself, feeling stretched between obedience and uncertainty, sensing that something was changing, but unable to define it clearly. That tension is not confusion, it is transition, and transition always carries a weight that clarity alone cannot ease. There are layers of you awakening that were never meant to surface early. Heaven is deliberate with timing because premature exposure can damage what is meant to endure. You may notice that certain desires no longer drive you. Conversations that once felt normal now feel empty, and environments you used to tolerate now drain you. This is not superiority, it is sensitivity. Your spirit is recalibrating to a different frequency, and what once fit can no longer hold you. This is how alignment announces itself quietly before it moves loudly. Chosen one, the wilderness you are walking through is not evidence of failure, it is proof of formation. Scripture reminds us that even Israel wandered, not because God forgot them, but because he was shaping slaves into sons. In the same way, your delays have been classrooms. Your losses have been lessons. Your unanswered questions have been invitations to trust deeper. I know how difficult it is to accept that growth often feels like subtraction first. Things fall away, people drift, certainty fades. But what remains becomes stronger than what was removed. There is a kind of authority that cannot be taught, only lived into existence. It forms when you choose obedience without applause, when you keep your integrity in seasons where compromise would be easier, and when you continue forward, even while doubting your own strength. I remember moments when the only thing keeping me steady was the quiet conviction that quitting would cost more than continuing. That conviction is being forged in you now. It will one day steady others who are still shaking. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of what feels ordinary right now. Heaven often hides its greatest shifts inside daily faithfulness. Each time you choose gratitude instead of bitterness, patience instead of reaction, and humility instead of self-defense, you are training your spirit to carry greater weight. Destiny is not sustained by dramatic moments alone, but by consistent alignment when no one is watching. This is where trust becomes muscle rather than theory. You may feel as though you're walking slower than others around you, watching people rush ahead while your path feels deliberate and measured. That is because your timing is not driven by pressure, but by precision. Divine timing rarely looks impressive from the outside, but it is devastatingly effective when it arrives. Ecclesiastes reminds us that everything is made beautiful in its time, not before and not after. That beauty includes you, shaped by seasons you would not have chosen, but now carry wisdom you could not have learned elsewhere. Chosen one. There will come a moment when clarity meets courage, and you will move without needing permission or validation. You will recognize this moment not by noise, but by peace. Peace that does not require explanation. Peace that stands firm even when outcomes remain unseen. This peace is not passivity, it is confidence rooted in alignment. It is the kind of peace that knows heaven has already decided, even if earth has not yet responded. As this formation continues, you may notice that your prayers are changing. They become less about rescue and more about readiness, less about asking God to remove pressure and more about asking Him to strengthen you within it. This is maturity taking shape. It does not arrive loudly, it settles in quietly, changing how you see, how you speak, and how you choose. And once it settles, you cannot return to who you were. Chosen one, trust what is forming, even when it feels uncomfortable. Trust the process, even when clarity arrives slowly. You are not late, you are not lost, you are not overlooked. You are exactly where heaven intended you to be, becoming exactly who you need to be for what is ahead. This is not delay, this is design, and it is unfolding with intention, depth, and purpose. Chosen one. There is a sacred shift that happens when you stop striving to be understood and begin resting in being aligned. I remember the exhaustion that came from trying to explain my journey to people who could only see fragments. At some point, I realized clarity does not always come from being seen, but from being centered. You are reaching that place now, where your spirit no longer begs for validation because it has found grounding in truth. This grounding is quiet, but it is immovable. As you grow into this alignment, you may feel a deep sense of responsibility settling in, not pressure, but awareness. An awareness that your life is not just about personal comfort, but about stewardship. You carry something meant to outlive seasons and speak beyond moments. That awareness can feel heavy at first, because it asks you to move with intention rather than impulse. But once you accept it, it becomes liberating. You no longer chase outcomes, you steward assignments. Chosen one. There is a reason you have endured what others would have walked away from. The resilience forming in you is not accidental. It is preparing you to stand when others collapse, to speak when others hesitate and to remain steady when environments become unstable. This steadiness is not emotional numbness, it is spiritual maturity. It is the fruit of trusting God when evidence was absent and continuing forward without guarantees. You may notice that certain doors begin to open with unusual ease. Not because you force them, but because resistance has expired. Divine doors open differently than human ones. They do not require manipulation or exhaustion. They open because alignment makes resistance unnecessary. When that happens, you will recognize it immediately. There will be no confusion, no inner conflict, no need to convince yourself. Peace will confirm what logic cannot fully explain. Chosen one. Influence does not always announce itself with crowds or titles. Sometimes it begins with quiet authority, where your presence alone shifts atmosphere. I have seen how a grounded spirit can calm chaos without speaking a word. That kind of influence is cultivated, not inherited. It grows when you choose truth over image and substance over speed. This is the influence forming around you now, subtle but undeniable. As this unfolds, you may feel a growing distance from old narratives about yourself. Stories that once defined you no longer fit. Labels you accepted in survival seasons now feel foreign. This can feel disorienting, but it is a necessary shedding. You cannot carry old identities into new assignments. Isaiah reminds us that God calls us by name and claims us as His, and that identity outlives every temporary label placed on you by people or circumstances. Chosen one, do not fear the responsibility that comes with growth. You are not being asked to carry this alone. Grace always accompanies calling. Strength rises with demand. Wisdom meets opportunity. I have learned that when God expands capacity, He also deepens dependence. The more entrusted you become, the closer you stay. This closeness is not obligation, it is relationship. There will be moments ahead where you look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. Not with shame, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the endurance, the lessons, and the preservation that carried you here. You will see how every delay redirected you, how every loss refined you, and how every silent season strengthened you. That reflection will not make you proud. It will make you humble and grounded. Chosen one. Your journey is not about becoming untouchable. It is about becoming unshakable. Life will still bring challenges, but they will meet a different version of you. One who listens before reacting, who discerns before moving, and who trusts heaven more than appearances. This is the fruit of alignment, and it cannot be rushed or replicated. Stay present in this process. Stay faithful in what is in front of you. Stay surrendered, even when clarity unfolds slowly. You are not waiting for destiny. Destiny is meeting you as you become ready to carry it. And as this readiness settles into your spirit, something within you already knows. You are becoming someone shaped by heaven, anchored in truth, and prepared for what comes next. Chosen one. There is a moment that comes after endurance, when the soul begins to exhale. It does not arrive with fireworks or announcements. It arrives quietly, like realizing you no longer have to prove what you already know is true. This is where you are standing now. The striving that once lived in your chest is loosening, not because life suddenly became easy, but because your identity has shifted. You are no longer asking if you are called. You are learning how to carry the call without losing yourself. I remember a season when I mistook exhaustion for obedience. I thought if I just pushed harder, God would move faster. But what I learned is that obedience is not measured by strain. It is measured by alignment. When alignment settles, effort changes texture. You still work, you still show up, but you no longer bleed for approval. You move from a place of knowing rather than chasing. That transition is subtle, but once it happens, you cannot unfeel it. Chosen one. Heaven is teaching you restraint, not because you lack passion, but because your passion now carries weight. Words spoken too early can fracture what is meant to stand. Actions taken too soon can delay what was almost ready. This is why your spirit has become quieter, more selective. You are not withdrawing from life. You are learning to govern yourself. Governance always precedes influence. There is also a refining happening in how you see people. You are no longer drawn to intensity for its own sake. You value consistency over charisma, depth over noise. This is not cynicism. It is discernment matured through experience. I have learned the hard way that not every open door is a divine door, and not every voice carries wisdom. Discernment is born from seasons where you trusted too easily and paid the cost. Now you move differently, not hardened but aware. Chosen. 1. Your prayers are becoming more precise. You are not asking God to fix everything. You are asking Him to align everything. That shift matters. When alignment becomes the priority, confusion loses its grip. Even unanswered questions no longer paralyze you. You learn to walk forward with partial clarity because you trust the one guiding your steps. Faith matures when certainty is no longer required to obey. There will be moments when old fears try to resurface, reminding you of who you used to be. Do not panic when this happens. Growth does not erase memory, it repositions it. The difference now is that fear no longer sits at the table of decision. It may knock, but it does not lead. I have felt that transition in my own life, noticing how the same fears showed up but lacked authority. That is how you know transformation is real. Chosen one. You are also learning how to rest without guilt. Rest used to feel like disobedience, like wasted time. Now you are discovering that rest is strategy. It sharpens clarity and preserves strength. Even heaven rested after creation, not because it was tired, but because completion had been reached. You are learning to recognize completion without needing validation from others. This season is teaching you to trust slow growth. Not everything meaningful grows fast. Some things take time because they must go deep. Roots that grow deep can withstand storms that shallow systems cannot survive. Your roots are going deep now. You may not see immediate fruit, but stability is forming. Stability is what sustains calling when attention fades. Chosen one, do not rush this stabilization. It is preparing you for moments when others will look to you for direction, not because you have all the answers, but because you carry peace in uncertainty. That peace is contagious. It calms rooms, it steadies conversations, it does not need to announce itself. It simply exists. As you continue forward, remember that growth is not linear. Some days will feel powerful, others will feel ordinary. Both matter. Destiny is not built only in highlights, but in repetition. Showing up, staying aligned, and choosing integrity again and again is what builds a life that lasts. You are doing that now, even when it feels invisible. Heaven sees it, and it counts. Chosen one. There is a sacred confidence that begins to rise when you stop measuring progress by speed and start recognizing depth. You may not be where you thought you would be by now, but you are not who you used to be either. That difference matters more than you realize. Heaven does not rush maturity because maturity is what sustains fulfillment. You are entering a season where fulfillment will not overwhelm you because capacity has been prepared. I want to speak honestly here because authenticity carries weight. There were moments in my own journey where I feared that if things finally moved, I would not be ready. That fear did not come from lack of faith, but from awareness. Awareness that calling demands stewardship, not just excitement. You may feel something similar now. A quiet awareness that what is coming will require discipline, humility, and continued dependence. That awareness is not a warning, it is confirmation that you are being entrusted. Chosen one. Your sensitivity has increased, and with it, your responsibility. You feel atmospheres more clearly. You sense when something is off, even if you cannot articulate it. This is not overthinking. It is perception sharpened through obedience. Guard it. Do not dismiss it just because others do not understand it. Some people see with eyes, others see with spirit. Both have value, but they operate differently. As your discernment sharpens, you will notice that some relationships naturally shift. Not through conflict, but through distance. Shared history does not always mean shared direction. This can be painful if you interpret it as loss, but it is often release. Release creates space. Space allows growth. Growth prepares you for alignment you could not have held before. Chosen one. Alignment will not always feel dramatic. Often it feels like things clicking into place without effort. Conversations flow, opportunities appear without strain, resistance fades. When this happens, resist the urge to question it. Ease does not mean lack of substance. Sometimes it means resistance has finished its assignment. Divine ease is not laziness. It is confirmation. You are also learning how to lead yourself before being trusted to lead others. Leadership begins internally. It is how you manage emotion, thought, reaction, and desire. I have learned that the loudest leaders are not always the strongest ones. Strength often speaks quietly. It listens more than it speaks. It observes before it acts. That kind of leadership is forming in you now. Chosen one, do not fear visibility when it comes. You have been prepared in obscurity so that exposure will not corrupt you. Visibility is not the reward. It is the responsibility. The reason you were hidden was not because you were unworthy, but because you were valuable. Precious things are stored carefully. They are not left exposed. As you step forward, remember that humility will keep you teachable and grounded. Growth does not mean you have arrived. It means you are equipped to keep learning without losing yourself. Pride closes doors. Humility keeps them open. This balance will serve you well in the days ahead. There will be times when you are tempted to look back and compare your path to others. Resist that temptation. Comparison distorts perception. You are not behind. You are not ahead. You are aligned. Alignment doesn't compete. It cooperates with timing. When you understand this, peace becomes natural rather than forced. Chosen one. The version of you emerging is not louder, flashier, or more impressive. It is steadier, clearer, and more rooted. That version can withstand pressure without collapsing and carry responsibility without losing joy. That is real transformation. It is not built for applause. It is built for endurance. Stay close to what keeps you grounded. Stay honest with yourself. Stay surrendered, even when confidence grows. These practices will protect what is being built. You are not becoming someone unrecognizable because you are losing yourself. You are becoming unrecognizable because you are finally aligned with who you were meant to be. Heaven has been patient with this process, and that patience is bearing fruit. Keep walking, keep listening, keep trusting. The work is continuing even now. Chosen one. There is a quiet authority that begins to settle when you no longer react to life the way you once did. You may have noticed it recently in small moments that others would overlook. Situations that once triggered anxiety now pass without shaking you. Conversations that once pulled you into explanation or defense no longer demand your energy. This is not emotional distance, it is spiritual grounding. It is the sign of someone who has learned how to remain centered even when circumstances shift. I remember the first time I realized a familiar pressure no longer had power over me. Nothing dramatic happened. I simply stayed steady. That steadiness is growing in you now, and it is changing how heaven can trust you. Chosen one. Stability is one of the most underrated forms of strength. Anyone can move when conditions are favorable, but only those who are anchored can remain consistent when uncertainty enters the room. Heaven values that kind of consistency because it protects calling from collapse. You are being shaped into someone who can carry responsibility without being consumed by it. This is why your emotions are being trained rather than silenced. You are not losing feeling, you are gaining governance. As this governance forms, you may notice that your inner dialogue is changing. The voice that once rushed you, criticized you, or pushed you toward comparison is growing quieter. In its place is a calmer awareness, one that asks better questions. Instead of asking why something is happening, you begin asking what it is forming. That shift alone changes how you move through life. It transforms frustration into curiosity and fear into discernment. I have learned that when the right questions are asked, answers eventually arrive without force. Or chosen one. You are also becoming more honest with yourself. You no longer romanticize dysfunction or excuse patterns that cost you peace. This honesty may feel uncomfortable at times, but it is freeing. You are no longer negotiating with things that drain you. You are choosing alignment over familiarity. That choice will protect you in ways you cannot yet see. Many people lose momentum, not because they lack calling, but because they refuse to release what no longer fits. There is also a deepening humility taking place. Not the kind that shrinks you, but the kind that keeps you open. You are aware now that growth does not make you superior, only responsible. That awareness will keep you teachable and grounded when opportunities expand. I have seen how quickly unguarded success can distort perspective. Humility keeps vision clear and purpose intact. Chosen. One heaven is training your timing as much as your character. You're learning when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move and when to wait. Timing is a form of wisdom that cannot be rushed. It is learned through mistakes, pauses, and observation. You have lived enough now to understand that not every moment requires action. Some moments require presence. That presence becomes its own kind of leadership. As your timing sharpens, resistance begins to lessen. You will notice that things no longer require the same effort they once did. This does not mean difficulty disappears, but it means alignment removes unnecessary friction. Doors open with less force. Conversations resolve more naturally. Decisions feel clearer. This is not coincidence. It is the fruit of internal alignment expressing itself externally. Chosen one. There will be moments when others begin to sense the change in you before they can explain it. They may comment on your calm, your clarity, or your steadiness. Do not let that distract you. You are not here to perform transformation. You are here to live it. Attention is not the goal. Integrity is. Stay anchored in that truth. You are also learning how to carry silence without discomfort. Silence used to feel like absence or uncertainty. Now it feels like space. Space to listen. Space to reflect. Space to respond rather than react. This is maturity revealing itself quietly. In silence, discernment speaks. In stillness, direction becomes clear. Do not rush to fill these spaces. They are doing important work. Chosen one. The version of you emerging is not fueled by urgency but by clarity. You are not chasing outcomes. You are walking with intention. That difference will protect you from burnout and regret. It allows you to pace yourself according to purpose rather than pressure. Many never learn this and pay the cost later. You are learning it now. As you continue, remember that steadiness is not stagnation. It is preparation in motion. Even when things feel calm, growth continues beneath the surface. Trust that. Honor that. Stay faithful to the small disciplines that keep you aligned. They matter more than you realize. You are becoming someone who can be trusted with more because you have learned how to carry less without complaint. That paradox is sacred. Heaven sees it. The process is working. Stay present. Stay grounded. Stay aligned. The transformation continues quietly and powerfully. Chosen one. There comes a stage in the journey where your faith is no longer loud, but it is unshakable. You do not need to convince yourself anymore. You do not need constant reassurance. Belief has moved from emotion into foundation. This kind of faith does not rise and fall with circumstances. It remains steady because it is rooted in experience, not theory. I remember when faith stopped feeling like effort and started feeling like orientation. It was no longer something I reached for. It was something I stood on. You are stepping into that same grounding now. As this grounding settles, your relationship with uncertainty changes. You no longer panic when details are missing. You no longer feel threatened by what you cannot control. Instead, you move forward with trust that clarity will arrive when alignment requires it. This does not make you passive. It makes you patient. Patience is not waiting without movement. It is moving without anxiety. That distinction matters. Chosen one. You are learning how to carry responsibility without becoming rigid. Flexibility and strength are no longer opposites in you. They are learning to coexist. You can adapt without losing direction. You can listen without surrendering conviction. This balance will serve you well as influence expands. Influence without balance leads to burnout. Balance sustains purpose. You may also notice that your desires are becoming simpler even as your vision grows larger. This is not contradiction. It is clarity. You no longer crave noise, excess, or validation. You crave alignment, truth, and depth. That simplification will protect you from unnecessary distractions. I have learned that clarity often removes more than it adds. What remains is what matters. Chosen one. Your discernment is now less reactive and more intuitive. You sense shifts before they fully appear. You recognize patterns quickly. You feel when something aligns or resists internally. This is not mysticism. It is awareness cultivated through obedience and reflection. Trust it. Discernment sharpens with use. Ignoring it dulls its edge. As you trust this discernment, confidence grows naturally. Not the loud kind that needs affirmation, but the quiet kind that does not need to announce itself. You move differently now. You listen more. You speak with intention. You choose carefully. This is not caution born of fear. It is wisdom born of experience. Chosen one. There will be moments when others misinterpret your calm as detachment or your boundaries as distance. Let them. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. Peace does not require agreement. Protecting your alignment is more important than being understood by everyone. Those meant to walk with you will recognize the difference. You are also learning how to honor your energy. You no longer pour endlessly without replenishment. You recognize when rest is needed and when action is required. This self-awareness is not selfish. It is stewardship. You cannot sustain purpose if you neglect the vessel carrying it. Caring for yourself is not a distraction from destiny. It is preparation for it. Chosen one. As this maturity settles, you may feel a deeper sense of gratitude for the journey that brought you here. Not because it was easy, but because it was formative. You can now see how delays protected you, how losses refined you, and how silence strengthened you. This perspective brings peace rather than regret. Gratitude heals what resentment cannot. You are becoming someone who no longer fears growth. You welcome it, even when it stretches you. Stretching no longer feels like threat. It feels like expansion. That shift is significant. Many resist growth because it challenges identity. You are embracing it because your identity is secure. Stay mindful in this season. Do not rush what is unfolding. Do not minimize how far you have come. Growth does not always feel dramatic, but it is undeniable when you look back. You are walking with greater clarity, steadiness, and intention than before. That is evidence of transformation. Chosen one. The work is ongoing, but it is stable. You are not being shaken to be broken. You are being strengthened to endure. Continue walking in this alignment. Continue listening inwardly. Continue honoring the quiet guidance that has carried you this far. Heaven is not finished, but it is pleased with what is forming. You are becoming someone who can carry what is ahead with wisdom, humility, and peace. Chosen one, there is a sacred maturity forming now, where you no longer need constant reassurance to remain faithful. Your spirit has learned how to stand without leaning on emotional highs or external affirmation. You still feel deeply, but feelings no longer govern your direction. This is a quiet strength, the kind that does not announce itself, but holds steady when conditions shift. I remember the first season when I realized I could move forward even while uncertainty lingered, not because I had answers, but because trust had become internal. You are entering that same posture now, where obedience flows from conviction rather than pressure. As this posture settles, your relationship with time changes. You no longer rush moments that require patience, and you no longer linger in seasons that have completed their work. Discernment has taught you when to stay and when to move. That discernment was not given overnight. It was earned through missteps, pauses, and reflection. Each time you waited when impatience called, something in you strengthened. Each time you moved when fear tried to hold you back, something in you clarified. This rhythm is becoming natural now, like breathing without effort. Chosen one. You are also learning how to release outcomes without losing intention. You still care deeply, but you no longer cling to results. This is not indifference. It is trust refined by experience. I have learned that when outcomes are released, creativity increases and peace expands. You become more responsive and less reactive. You can hear guidance more clearly because anxiety no longer crowds the signal. This clarity allows you to act decisively without being hurried, and that balance protects both your spirit and your purpose. You may notice that your courage now looks different than it once did. It is no longer loud or impulsive. It is steady and considered. You choose battles carefully. You speak when words matter and remain silent when silence preserves alignment. This is not fear. It is wisdom grown from knowing that not every conflict deserves your energy. Strength is no longer measured by how much you can endure, but by how well you can discern what is worth carrying. Chosen one. The inner work you have done is beginning to show itself externally in subtle ways. Your posture has changed. Your presence carries calm. Your decisions reflect clarity. People may not know your story, but they feel the steadiness it produced. This is influence without performance. It does not require explanation. It simply exists. I have watched how rooms shift when someone grounded walks in, not because they dominate attention, but because their alignment stabilizes the space. You are becoming that kind of presence. There is also a growing compassion in you that is no longer entangled with self-sacrifice. You care without losing boundaries. You give without depletion. This balance took time to learn. It often comes after seasons where generosity was misunderstood or misused. Now you know that compassion does not require access to everything. It requires wisdom. This wisdom will protect your heart while still allowing you to serve with integrity. Chosen one. Your memory of past pain is changing. It no longer defines you or dictates your reactions. It informs you without controlling you. This is healing in its truest form. Healing does not erase memory. It restores authority over it. I remember realizing that certain reminders no longer triggered the same response, not because I forgot, but because I was no longer living from that place. You are reaching that threshold now, where history becomes reference rather than residence. As you move forward, your faith expresses itself through action rather than explanation. You trust enough to take steps without needing full visibility. You have learned that clarity often meets movement, not waiting. This does not mean recklessness. It means responsiveness. You listen, you move, you adjust. This flexibility is a sign of spiritual confidence, not indecision. It shows that you trust guidance more than control. Chosen one, you are also recognizing the value of consistency. Dramatic moments still matter, but they no longer carry the weight they once did. What carries weight now is how you show up daily, how you speak to yourself, how you choose when no one is watching. These small decisions accumulate into stability. Stability sustains calling when excitement fades. Many falter, not because they lack vision, but because they neglect consistency. You are learning to honor both. There will be times when your growth invites misunderstanding. Some may expect the old version of you to respond as it once did. When it does not, confusion may arise. Let it. Growth does not require permission. It requires honesty. You are not responsible for managing expectations rooted in outdated perceptions. Stay aligned with who you are becoming rather than who others remember. Chosen one. Your sense of purpose is also maturing. It feels less like urgency and more like direction. You are no longer driven by fear of missing out or falling behind. You're guided by alignment and readiness. This shift allows you to move with patience even when opportunity appears. You evaluate not only whether something is possible, but whether it is appropriate for this season. That discernment will save you from unnecessary detours. You may feel a deeper gratitude emerging for ordinary days. The calm mornings, the steady work, the simple routines now feel sacred rather than mundane. This is perspective earned through struggle. When peace was scarce, you learned its value. Now that it is present, you honor it. Gratitude anchors you in the present rather than pulling you into anticipation or regret. This anchoring strengthens your awareness and preserves your joy. Chosen one, as this season unfolds, remember that maturity does not mean arrival. It means readiness to continue learning without losing yourself. Stay curious, stay humble, stay attentive to the quiet guidance that has carried you this far. You are not being rushed. You are being refined. Each step forward is supported by groundwork already laid. Trust that foundation. Walk steadily. Remain open. The work continues steady and sure, shaping you into someone who can carry what is ahead with clarity, endurance, and grace. Chosen one. There is a deep stillness that comes when you finally stop asking whether you are ready and begin trusting that preparation has already been taking place for far longer than you realized. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a condition formed over time, shaped by obedience, reflection, and resilience. You may not feel fully equipped, but you are no longer unformed. Heaven has been steady in its work, even on days you thought nothing was happening. That steady work is now supporting you from within. As you stand in this season, you may notice that decisions come with less inner conflict. Not because choices are easier, but because your values are clearer. You know what costs too much to compromise and what matters enough to protect. This clarity was forged through moments where confusion once dominated. I remember seasons when every decision felt heavy, not because the options were complex, but because my identity was still forming. Once identity settled, decisions followed. The same is happening for you now. Chosen one, you are learning how to hold responsibility without losing wonder. You are not becoming rigid or mechanical. You are becoming intentional. Intentionality allows you to engage fully without being consumed. You show up present rather than pressured. This presence changes how others experience you. Conversations feel grounded. Commitments feel sincere. Your energy is no longer scattered. It is focused. There is also a growing patience in you that is not passive. It is active trust. You wait without stagnating and move without forcing. This balance is rare because it requires both humility and confidence. Humility to accept that timing is not yours to control, and confidence to act when clarity arrives. I have learned that this balance protects you from burnout and regret. It allows you to move in rhythm rather than resistance. Chosen one. Your understanding of strength has matured. Strength is no longer about pushing through at all costs. It is about knowing when to pause, when to adjust, and when to continue. You no longer equate rest with weakness or delay with failure. You recognize that endurance requires sustainability. This understanding will serve you well as responsibilities increase. You may notice that your sense of purpose feels quieter, yet more certain. It does not demand attention. It guides you steadily. This quiet certainty allows you to resist distractions that once pulled you off course. Not every opportunity is meant for you, and you no longer feel compelled to chase them all. Discernment has taught you that saying no is sometimes the most aligned decision you can make. Chosen one. Your inner dialogue has softened. Harsh self-criticism has given way to honest evaluation. You correct without condemning. You acknowledge growth without pride. This balanced self-awareness creates space for continued learning. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are working with yourself. That cooperation accelerates growth. As you move forward, you may feel a deeper connection to simplicity. Complex explanations and over-analysis no longer satisfy you. You value clarity over complexity. This does not mean your thinking has become shallow. It has become refined. You are able to see through noise to what matters. This clarity will guide you through moments when others feel overwhelmed. Chosen. 1. There will be times ahead when the weight of responsibility feels heavy. When that happens, remember that you were not given this weight without capacity. Capacity was built slowly, quietly, and intentionally. You have survived seasons that once seemed unbearable. That survival was not accidental. It was training. Each challenge expanded your ability to carry more with less strain. You are also learning how to remain connected to joy, even while carrying seriousness. Joy no longer depends on circumstances. It comes from alignment. When you know you are walking in step with purpose, joy becomes stable. It does not disappear when things are hard. It coexists with challenge. This joy will be a source of strength for you and for others who observe your steadiness. Chosen one, stay attentive to what keeps you grounded. Maintain the practices that have sustained you. Reflection, gratitude, honesty, and rest are not optional. They are anchors. As your influence grows, these anchors will keep you from drifting. Growth does not eliminate the need for grounding. It increases it. You are entering a season where your presence will matter more than your performance. How you show up will speak louder than what you accomplish. This is the mark of someone who has integrated purpose into identity. You are not performing alignment. You are living it. As this chapter continues, trust that you are not being rushed into something unprepared. You are being invited into what you have already been shaped to carry. Walk forward with steadiness. Move with clarity. Remain open. The process is not ending, but it is stabilizing. And that stability is a gift, one that will support everything that follows. Chosen one. There is a point where preparation stops feeling like something you are waiting to complete and starts revealing itself as something already woven into you. You may not remember when this happened, but you can feel the difference now. The hesitation that once slowed your steps has softened. The inner resistance that questioned every move has loosened its grip. What replaced it is not recklessness, but readiness. Readiness that grew quietly through repetition, surrender, and faithfulness in moments no one else saw. You are beginning to move from effort into flow. Not because challenges disappeared, but because your inner alignment no longer fights them. You meet pressure with perspective rather than panic. This shift is subtle, yet powerful. I remember realizing one day that my prayers had changed. They were no longer filled with urgency, but with clarity. Instead of asking for escape, I began asking for wisdom to move well. That change marked a turning point. You are experiencing something similar now. Chosen one. There is a growing sense of trust between you and heaven. Not the kind built on outcomes, but the kind built on consistency. You have seen enough to know that guidance comes even if timing surprises you. This trust allows you to act without fear of being abandoned mid-step. You no longer wait for perfect certainty. You move with confidence that correction will come if needed. That confidence is not pride. It is relationship matured through experience. As this trust deepens, your identity becomes less reactive. You are no longer easily shaken by opinions, praise, or criticism. Your worth is no longer tied to reaction. It is anchored internally. This anchoring frees you to listen without absorbing, to engage without being pulled off center. It is one of the most liberating aspects of growth because it allows you to remain yourself regardless of environment. Chosen one. You are also learning how to carry hope realistically. Hope no longer feels like denial of hardship. It feels like perspective rooted in truth. You acknowledge difficulty without surrendering to it. You recognize challenge without magnifying it. This balanced hope sustains endurance. It keeps you moving without exhausting you. I have learned that hope grounded in realism lasts longer than optimism built on avoidance. There is a gentleness forming in how you speak to yourself. The inner voice that once demanded perfection is becoming more patient. You hold yourself accountable without being harsh. This self-compassion is not weakness, it is wisdom. It allows you to learn from mistakes without being defined by them. Growth accelerates when shame is removed from the process. You are discovering that now. Chosen one, as your inner world stabilizes your outer world, will begin reflecting that stability. Relationships will either deepen or drift based on alignment. Opportunities will present themselves in ways that feel natural rather than forced. Decisions will feel clearer because they are being filtered through a grounded identity. This reflection is not something you manufacture, it is something that emerges when internal alignment becomes consistent. You may find yourself more comfortable with uncertainty than ever before, not because you enjoy it, but because it no longer threatens you. You trust your ability to navigate it. This confidence did not come from avoiding difficulty, but from surviving it. Every time you thought you would not make it through and did something you strengthened. That strength is now part of you. Chosen one. Your sense of purpose feels less like a destination and more like a way of being. You are not chasing meaning. You are living it in daily choices, in how you respond, in what you prioritize. This integration brings peace. Purpose no longer feels distant or elusive. It feels present and practical. That is maturity. As you continue forward, resist the urge to measure your progress by comparison. Comparison clouds discernment. Your path is specific. Your timing is intentional. Trust the pace that has been set for you. You are not missing anything meant for you. Alignment ensures arrival. Chosen. One, stay attentive to the quiet confirmations that come through peace rather than excitement. Excitement fades. Peace remains. Let peace guide you more than urgency. Let alignment outweigh appearance. These priorities will protect what is forming. You are not standing on the edge of something unknown. You are stepping into something familiar to your spirit, even if your mind is still catching up. This familiarity is recognition, not repetition. You're becoming who you were prepared to be, not by force, but by formation. Continue walking with trust. Continue listening with humility. The work has not stopped, but it has become integrated. And that integration will carry you forward with steadiness, clarity, and quiet confidence. Chosen. 1. There is a sacred completion settling into your spirit now, not as an ending, but as a deep internal agreement with the path you are walking. You are no longer negotiating with who you are becoming. You are cooperating with it. This cooperation brings a calm assurance that does not need constant confirmation. You may still face questions, but they no longer unsettle your foundation. What once felt fragile has become stable through lived faith and quiet perseverance. You are beginning to recognize that trust is no longer something you summon in moments of crisis. It is something you live from daily. This shift matters. When trust becomes a posture rather than a reaction, fear loses its leverage. You may still feel it, but it no longer dictates your direction. I remember the relief of realizing that fear could exist without controlling my choices. That relief is finding its place in you now, creating space for clarity and steady movement. Chosen one. Your sense of identity has settled into something simpler and stronger. You are no longer defining yourself by seasons, roles, or outcomes. You know who you are regardless of circumstance. This does not make life predictable, but it makes you resilient. You are able to engage fully without attaching your worth to results. That freedom is one of the greatest fruits of growth, and it allows you to remain present even when the future is still unfolding. There is also a deepened reverence in how you approach each day. Ordinary moments no longer feel insignificant. You understand now that consistency shapes destiny more than dramatic events ever could. Each choice, each response, each quiet act of faith builds momentum. This awareness keeps you grounded and attentive. You are not waiting for life to begin. You are living it with intention. Chosen one. You may notice that gratitude has become more natural. Not forced, not performative, but genuine. You appreciate progress without needing perfection. You honor growth without dismissing where you started. This gratitude softens your spirit and sharpens your perspective. It reminds you that even difficult seasons carried value and that nothing was wasted. As you move forward, there is an invitation to remain present rather than preoccupied. The temptation to rush ahead or revisit the past may still appear, but you now have the awareness to choose otherwise. Presence anchors you. It allows you to respond wisely rather than react emotionally. This presence is not passive. It is engaged, alert, and grounded in trust. Chosen one. The version of you standing here is not louder or more impressive. It is steadier, clearer, and more aligned. That alignment will continue to guide you even when circumstances change. You have learned how to listen inwardly, how to move deliberately, and how to remain faithful without strain. These are quiet strengths, but they endure. Carry this steadiness with you. Protect what has been formed through patience and honesty. Continue choosing alignment in small ways, because small choices compound into lasting direction. You are not striving to become someone else. You are allowing what has been forming all along to take its rightful place. Heaven has been faithful in this process, and you have been present within it. Walk forward with trust. Remain open. Stay grounded. The journey continues, supported by what has already been built within you. Chosen one. As this word settles into the depths of your spirit, receive this truth with reverence and faith. Heaven is not distant, and this moment is not passing you by. Your sealed prophecy is opening, your hidden scroll is being revealed, and you are standing in your exact Kairos moment, the appointed time written for you on heaven's clock. What has been forming in silence is now stepping into alignment, and what was prepared in secret is ready to emerge with clarity and purpose. Anointed one, remain faithful in the days ahead. Stay aligned with the flow of the anointing, even in the ordinary steps, because heaven moves powerfully through consistency and obedience. Walk forward with gratitude, knowing that what is about to manifest will confirm everything God has been shaping within you. You are blessed, strengthened, and divinely positioned for what comes next. If this word has marked your spirit, let it become your declaration. You may share what stood out to you, stay connected, and walk on with expectation. Until we meet again, go in peace, stand in truth, and remember, you are chosen.